Hi, I'm Andy Donaldson, and I recently broke the world record for the 20 bridges swim around Manhattan Island. The swim is around Manhattan Island. It's 45.9 kilometers long, and I completed it in 5 hours and 41 minutes, 48 seconds. That time was just over 2 minutes underneath the pre-existing record. It's a tough one to beat. It's only been broken twice in the last 30 years. And for swimmers to be able to do it, they really need to get the currents and tides bang on to really make it possible. I was holding an average pace of 8 kilometers an hour, which in a pool works out to be 44 seconds per 100 meters. For all the swimmers out there, you probably know that that's faster than the 100-meter world record held by Panzan Lee of 46 seconds. But again, that's only possible because we got the currents right, we got the tides right, and really made the most of the conditions out there in the water. This swim was challenging for a number of reasons, but in the lead up to it, I was actually feeling pretty run down and unwell. Not ideal when you're about to swim a 45.9 kilometer race. For me, physically I was not feeling 100%, which affected my swimming, but mentally it's really nerve-wracking knowing that you're not feeling your best. My approach was just to focus on what I could control, try rest up as much as possible, and my dad always says to me, you might not be feeling your best, but you can always give it your best. In order to capitalise on the best tides and currents, we had a pretty unorthodox start time of 2 a.m. in the morning. It's quite hard to get yourself, your body and your mind ready for swimming in the middle of the night. So, we tried to plan how our day was going to unfold, what the 24 hours in the lead up to the swim would look like. For me, that was eating fairly much as normal with breakfast, lunch and dinner. I didn't want to eat anything too heavy in the 2 hours before the swim, so I was focusing on taking in carb-only mix in my drink bottle. For me, that's nice and easy on the gut, still gets the energy into the system, and I was trying to bank as many hours of sleep as possible in the lead up to the swim. Even if I wasn't sleeping, I was still resting and not exerting any energy. So I think you make the most of the situation you're given, and for me, I think we did that quite well given the circumstances. For us to have the best possible chance of a crack at the record, we needed 3 things. We needed the right conditions, which we had, a good team to be able to navigate those conditions, and a strong performance from a swimming perspective. To enable the strong swimming performance, I needed to make sure that my hydration and my fueling was spot on. For me, I always adopt a very similar plan to my nutrition and fueling, whether it's for 5 hours or 12 hours plus in a marathon swim. And it's always centered around liquid carb drinks. For me, taking my carbs on in liquid form is most practical from a swimming perspective. I'm not having to stop and tread water and wolf down some solids. It's easy on the gut, gets into the system quick, and the practicalities, the functional benefits of it just makes sense to me. My feed plan sees me taking on drinks every 20 minutes, usually 200 milliliters of some form of liquid carb drink. I'll mix up the different feeds, so I'll have a carb-only mix, maybe water with gel for another, flat Coke, and a few other ones. And that helps for me when it comes to avoiding taste fatigue too. The drinks in the Manhattan Island swim were all heated up, so usually a ratio of 50-50 with hot and temperate water. And that also gives you a bit of a boost, something to look forward to, especially when you're swimming in some colder waters like like we did in the Hudson River. One of the things I think some people might be surprised with is in my flat coat feeds, we were actually adding sugar to the mix to get more carbs per feed. You know, as if there's not enough sugar in it already. I don't think my dentist would be too happy with me with taking on those feeds, but it certainly helps get the job done. With the Manhattan Island swim, we had a really, we'd worked really hard to create a robust strategy going into it. We knew exactly where we wanted to be at certain times in respect to the record. We'd created a forecast taking into consideration the expected tide strengths and current speeds, and you know, we had reference points to compare ourselves to throughout the swim. One of those points was in the Hudson River, around halfway into the swim, and surprisingly, we were actually quite a fair bit back on record pace. We were at some points as far back as 12 minutes off the record, but we had a bit of a stroke of luck halfway through where my handler, Jay Purcell, in one of these updates, he gave me the wrong information and wrote -10 on the whiteboard that he used to communicate with me. And I interpreted that as that we were 10 minutes ahead of the record and we were flying. And, you know, up to that point I'd been kind of struggling because I wasn't feeling great. You know, I'd been ill in the lead up to the race, and I was really struggling to get going and get the stroke rate up to where it needed to be. And this update gave me actually a really huge boost to the morale, and you know, I thought we were doing a lot better than we probably were. And I shouted up to him, I was like, heck yeah, like, we're on here. And he kind of looked away at the other members of the team, and you're like, why did he react like that? And another person on the boat was like, oh, he thinks he's ahead of the record. And they looked at the sign they'd given me and they're like, oh no. And they were actually planning to tell me that it was a mistake, but there was a lot of traffic in the water at the time, so they couldn't get their boat near enough to me again to give me the news. And you know, after a while they gave up on that, and but what happened as a result was I got a second wind of energy and really started to pick up pace and get the arms firing again. And there was like this injection of fuel into the engine, and naturally we actually started coming back on record pace. And by the time the next update came around, we were 2 minutes under it. So it just goes to show sometimes that perspective is everything, and mindset really can make such a big difference. So end of the story is we pressed on, and those last couple of kilometers were very tight. It could have gone either way, you know, either side of the line, but thankfully we were able to hang in there and press on and get under that record by 2 minutes. After the swim, you can quite often feel pretty smashed, you know, especially the arms, the shoulders, the lats. I often find that I can't really lift my arms much higher than my shoulders. It's really quite hard. And you know, depending on the swim, especially if it's cold water, your muscles contract a lot more, so you might feel those DOMs for a little bit longer than in a warmer water swim. I always try to prioritize my recovery as quickly as possible, so getting the protein into the system as soon after a swim as you can. Sometimes your blood sugar levels might be feeling a bit off. You know, if you think about fueling strategies, taking on extra sugar to help you fuel the fire, it can mess your blood sugar levels and make you feel quite nauseous. So trying to eat something maybe a bit saltier that can help balance that out. Another aspect to recovery that I always try to prioritise is mentally recharging. In marathon swimming and in many endurance events, the mental aspect is a really big part. In swimming, in marathon swimming, they say it's 80% mental, 20% physical. So, allowing yourself the time to rest mentally, recharge, give yourself some time to let that central nervous system relax and unwind. Some swims you bounce back a lot quicker than others, but I think for me, I had to really dig deep mentally for that swim. Coming into it unwell and perhaps not feeling my best, I had to really pull that one out of the bag, so to speak, and work hard. So I think in those situations it does take a bit longer to recharge the batteries. But I don't have another big swim in the pipeline, so I'm allowing myself that time to fully recharge. But I'd say, as a rule of thumb, it doesn't have to be too intense, but it's always good for promoting good recovery if you can work those muscles, even if it's in a gentle manner.